Time for the only radio show of its kind. Auctioneers of antiques, collectors of cool, veterans of vintage. It's the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560, The Answer. For the next hour, enjoy great information about buying and selling antiques and collectibles, and some interesting stories. Now, the Donley Auctions Hour.
Welcome to the Donley Auction Hour. I'm Susan, and I'm here today with Randy Donley of Donley Auctions in Union, Illinois.
Hi, this is our first show, and I couldn't be more excited to be here today. And some of the things we're going to be talking about will include what's hot and what's not in collecting. You know, what young people are collecting today, because it's so different than the way we refer to as antiquing. The old-timers like myself, we'd go out on weekends going antiquing. Well, that's over. And we want to talk about things like, what's a good investment? Is it time to sell? Should we be hanging on to these things, or is it time to dump? So, you know, we're going to go through this all. We've got a full show. Stay tuned for this. But
what I want to make sure everyone knows about is that Donley Auctions is here to tell you today how we're going to make your collection and any items you have at home, we're going to make it fit into your wallet or your purse.
You know, Susan, that's one of our key phrases, folks. Make it fit in your wallet. I had a customer at one of our auctions the other day say to me, you know, Randy, I can't believe it. You always say to me, I'll make it fit in your wallet. But gosh, I'm going to need a bigger wallet. And, you know, that's no joke, folks. If you're going to be selling antiques, one of the best ways really to sell is auctions. You're not, you know, governed by any price that you throw out there and everything, you know, and there's just so much to talk about. But being our first segment, I'd really like to talk a little bit more about who and what we are as Donley Auctions. You know, so many of you know my family, the Donley family from Union, Illinois, owning the Wild West town. You know, my dad was a collector way back in the 1960s, so I'm a second-generation antiques collector. And my father owned a gas station in Berwyn, Illinois, and he was an avid collector of antique phonographs and music boxes and everything. But as an 11-year-old, boy, what did I know about antique phonographs? I was out in the backyard playing Army with my friends. So, of course, I would go to flea markets with my father and pick up old helmets or backpacks, bayonets and stuff, collecting military relics, and I'd outfit all the kids in the neighborhood with military relics. Now, can you imagine that, Susan, getting away with that today? We would even play with real guns. I lived in Berwyn, Illinois. My father took the bolts out of old military rifles that I would pick up from World War II veterans.
Yeah, no, I don't think you'd be seeing kids playing in their front yards with firearms these
that's
days.
Back in the 60s, those kind of things happened. But again, you know, I'm a second-generation collector. My father was a big-time collector, and his dream was to open up a little antique village. So we moved the operation from Berwyn, Illinois to Union, Illinois, and he opened up years ago in 1974 what was then called the 7 Acres Museum. Mm-hmm. And it's changed its name several times. We had that in operation. So many of you have been there. Thousands and thousands of our listeners have been to the Wild West town with their kids. My father actually built this Wild West town so that people could see not only his antiques collection, but they could, in fact, enjoy the passion of antiques collecting.
I wonder, Randy, if everybody remembers the jingle you used to have back in the day. Can you sing it a little bit of it for us?
Donley's Wild West, Donley's Wild West, Donley's Wild West town. Well, we're now Donley Auction Hour, and the Wild West town, folks, has run its course. We had that for 48 years. But again, I tell you that only so you know how we got started.
How we got to where we are today, yes.
I've been an antiques collector for over 50 years, specializing in military relics. But again, because of this Wild West town, we get into all different types of antiques. We do sell antique cars, motorcycles, vintage Petroliana of all kinds, porcelain signs, gas pumps, and everything. And, of course, phonographs, music boxes, slot machines, and we even get into fields that we may not have collected, such as dolls or clocks and everything. But some of the guests that we will have coming up in our next shows, we'll be bringing on people who specialize in all different fields. So if you're an antiques collector of any kind and would like us to be talking about certain things in our upcoming segments, please don't hesitate to call us or email us at donleyauctions@outlook.com. Now, we'll keep mentioning that throughout the next shows and even today, so you don't need to write that down yet. So, again, what's hot and what's not? Susan, do you have anything you want to throw in here before I continue on?
No, but I do want to let people know that in our upcoming shows, we will be taking guests and call-ins. So if you'd like to give us a call at our phone number at the office at 815-923-7000, we'll be taking calls and answering any of your questions about collectibles or items you might have. If it's one or two items, or if you have a basement full of items, Randy and I are going to look forward to talking to you and answering those questions. So again, we're going to figure out how to make that collection of yours fit into your wallet.
Yeah, we need to keep reminding you. That's what we do. We sell antiques.
One thing I think is interesting, Randy, that I think we need to bring up real quick here is how the Internet has changed the collectible industry, and maybe you could touch a little bit on that.
You know, Susan, you're so spot on. The Internet market, you know, the world of computers has been the best friend and the worst enemy of the collector's market for several reasons. Best friend being the information that's available to us at our fingertips now would have taken years of research, and we can just look it up in seconds. So that is great. However, the problem with the Internet has been prices. It has been one of the curses to the pricing of antiques, because back in the day when you collected, there were things like price guides that were printed, and we believed what we read. If you bought a price guide and it said your collector item was worth $300, well, it's $300. Next year, when that price guide said it was $350, well, why wouldn't we believe that? What a great investment. Our collections are going up. Well, that changed when all of a sudden sites like eBay came onto the market and so on, and we could actually see at a second's notice what items were selling for and how much was available. You know, we never knew the volume that was available on any given weekend, and so we would think something is rare only to find out that it's not.
And that's where Donley Auctions is going to come into play, and how we're going to help our listeners out there is let us do that work for you. We'll figure out how much your items are worth. We'll appraise it. We'll tell you, is it a good investment? Hang on to it, keep it in the family, or sell it at auction.
Well, you know, once again, yes, a lot of times items are worth so much more sentimentally, so of course you want to keep them. But people call me all the time and they want to know, Randy, is this time to sell? And unfortunately, in many, many cases, collections that were exceedingly valuable as much as 20 years ago are worth probably half of their value today. One of the reasons being collectors got old. And collecting, as we know it, Susan, is over. The old-timers that would go to antique shops and everything and go antiquing on weekends, that's a thing of the past.
Right. So I'm looking forward to helping all of you listeners out there. Give us a call. What do you have in your house? What do you have questions about? Do you have something sitting on the shelf, something grandpa gave you as an inheritance? Let us know. We'd be happy to take your calls at 815-923-7000, and let's see what we can do for you. Again, we're here to help you make your collection or your items fit into your wallet or your purse.
And it's exactly that. It doesn't matter the size of collection or single item. You know, we always look at ourselves as treasure hunters first, and we're dealing in history. You know, all these things have provenance and great historic significance. So these are, again, all things that we can help you with. And to learn more, stay tuned to this show because we're going to be coming up with guests and all kinds of special surprises for you.
Well, coming up after the break, stay tuned. I am so excited to introduce Sean Thompson, our very first guest on the Donley Auction Hour. Sean is our friend and the host of the Sean Thompson Show here on AM 560. You can listen to Sean every day from 4 to 7 p.m. right here on AM 560, The Answer.
And you know, Susan, yes, definitely stay tuned, folks, because Sean is going to be talking with us about antique firearms, and it's my understanding that he's got a special weapon that he wants to talk
Can't wait
about.
to hear about that.
And if you know Sean, anything
Stay
goes.
tuned.
It could be a real surprise.
They've been called auctioneers of antiques, collectors of cool, even veterans of vintage. And they can introduce themselves. Thanks for listening. This is the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560, The Answer.
And we're back. I'm Susan. I'm here with Randy Donley, and we're with Donley Auctions in Union, Illinois. We're so excited to introduce our next guest. Sean Thompson is with us today. How you doing, Sean?
Wonderful, wonderful. I told you I would call on the first show. It's always exciting when you have the first show.
You're a man
and
of your
this is
word.
a big deal. So, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Plus, I love the information. I had to get Randy out to my cigar store. You remember that, Randy?
I sure do, yeah. What a
and you
neat
made the
little
whole
shop,
drive.
by the way, too, I got to say.
Thank you. And you made the whole drive, and I wasn't here. And then you were the bearer of bad news. I thought I was finally going to be able to retire. I have this old Indian, and I was let down. I got hustled.
Well, you know, that's so interesting that you bring that up because that happens all the time. Unfortunately, people, have items that they believed for years and years are old, are authentic, for whatever reason, whether it was sold to them that way or they just somehow got misinformation. And it's always best to find out what you have and what it's really worth.
So you're referring to a cigar store Indian that Sean has in his
At
shop?
the shop,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when I bought my store, I bought it from a wonderful guy who really wanted out. So I bought it, and I spotted the Indian. And the whole reason I bought the store was this Indian. The cigars I was smoking long before I had the store. But it's a nice benefit that I got the cigars with it. But I thought I really hit a home run with this Indian because I had watched like 2 episodes of Pickers. So I thought that I spotted $1 million item.
All right, hold up.
Randy was the bearer of bad news.
Yeah, you should have called Donley Auctions first. We would have given you the real value.
You know,
It's true, but he who gambles lives in shambles, and that's what I do.
It's so funny, though, that you bring up cigar store Indians because years ago I fell in love with collecting wooden figures and, cigar store figures, and they're not always of the Native American design. There's all kinds. There's baseball players and Punch and Judy's and really some interesting wooden carvings. And I started collecting them for a while until I got into some of the really good ones and found out I couldn't afford it. It was way beyond my means. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it looked. I thought I had a cigar store Indian. I just have one of Elizabeth Warren's cousins. So what are you going to do?
Well, just a reminder to our listeners, you have anything in your shop or your house that you're not sure before you even invest, like Sean did, give us a call at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions will be happy to take a message and give you a call and find out what you have.
So,
And, this is such a service on so many levels. I see, in the real estate business, I see people that are sometimes estate recipients, and they don't know what to do, and they have a garage sale, and, you wonder if they're giving away good stuff. This is a crucial service I think you offer.
Sean, that just happened. Again, you're so spot on with this. We were just called for a woman whose husband unfortunately passed, and she had his license plate collection. She was, in fact, having a house sale. And, here just a few boxes of license plates that we hauled out to our auction yielded tens of thousands of dollars. And at a garage sale, they might have gone for a few $100s. I mean, people need to call us because I don't expect to get every item here for auction, but I'm at least willing to give people free information I'm there for them to let people know what they have and what the value is. Then they can make their own decisions how they want to dispose of it.
And what I like about the site is you have pictures of all of the items. That's where I saw the Lugers on the site. That's where I saw the Cadillac Eldorado. I like the site. Do you have to maintain this constantly? Are you always uploading pictures? Is that how it works?
Oh, my God, it never ends. Susan's the
After
specialist.
every auction, as a matter of fact, we just held a fantastic firearm and ammunition auction last weekend, and we're getting ready to pop up there a few items that sold really well. Actually, in the last few auctions we had, like, for example, that license plate, Randy, tell them about the 1904.
Well, yeah, the license plate collection previously, we had a license plate that ended up, hitting the paddle of $31,000. I mean, that's just a single license plate.
For a license plate.
Right.
See, so the one that I ordered in Florida that says FJB, that's going to be worth some money one day. I just have to wait 100 years. All right.
Oh, no wonder we wanted you for our first guest.
That's right.
Yeah, you have to have vision. You have to have vision. So now what I like to do, too, is I like old weapons. So I'm half Norwegian. So a while ago, I was on a site, and, I followed another one, and it went to Iceland. And I found a guy who makes the way that they made weapons, in the 12th century, in the 10th century. He makes it the same way. It's called cold fusion, I think it is, or they cold something with the steel. They do it differently. Uh-huh. So I bought this a few years ago. Do things like this go up in value, or am I just a pigeon that wanted a replica of an old weapon that hopefully one of my ancestors, took advantage of?
In most cases, that does happen, but not always. It's surprising how modern-made collectibles, sometimes when they're done by true artisans and craftsmen, they can go up exceedingly. Just to give you an example, I mean, you've probably heard of the Randall knife. Which is a private company that makes makes fighting knives and so on. Randall knives are exceedingly expensive, into the thousands of dollars. So it all depends on the quality of the work and the craftsman that did it. So you could have a good piece there.
It's an inflation hedge too, right? When you buy something that's a collectible today, even though you may feel you're paying up, it will increase in value as things get more tumultuous in the economy. I mean, that's another way to look at this stuff too, right?
Well, and that's one of the reasons for this show, Sean, because that is the case in some smaller situations. But right now, what's happening is there's so much merchandise coming on the market. We have all these old timers that were big-time collectors. They have hundreds and hundreds of items of any one field that they collected. They're all 80, 90 years old now and passing away. So all this merchandise is on the market, and there's very little demand because young people are collecting differently than an 80-year-old. They're collecting even though they are collecting, they're collecting mid-century modern and items that people like myself, I can't see collecting things that I lived with. If it's from the 70s or 80s, I don't want it because I'm a collector like my dad was, who collected stuff from the turn of the century. So collecting is different. You've got to be careful what you buy.
No, I understand, and you just explained a lot of divorces as well. This is very interesting, and one of the things that I like is it's also an avenue for people to tap in who may be considering collecting, because you could buy one piece and you could get started for not a huge amount of money, right?
Wow. 100% correct. Because of the supply right now coming on the market, prices of a lot of items. I use antique phonographs always as an example. They're worth about half of what they were 20 years ago right now. So it was not a good collector for some investment for somebody that collected 20 years ago. But today you can buy into some very rare items for a fraction of what they were just a short time ago. So right now, if you want to be a collector, now is the time to be buying because there's so much merchandise available. Now, one more thing, Sean. Normally, when people buy this stuff up, it gets put away for the next 30, 40 years again, and it's not back on the market. So right now, again, perfect time to be buying.
What about that Eldorado convertible? I got a soft spot for the rag tops, and that's one thing I can't get enough of. Did it sell? Because I bid $350. I was very disappointed.
Oh, jeez, that was you. Okay,
that was me.
That was you.
The Eldo, the owner of the Eldo was hoping for $70,000 and would have sold it for that. I mean, she said, I really need to sell this car. We went to Florida to pick it up, and it ended up selling for $100,000. That is the beauty of the auction business and how we can help people. And incidentally, the car ended up going back to Florida.
So real quick, are we telling Sean to keep the battle axe or sell it at Donley Auctions? What's the advice, Randy?
Well, my business is always to sell, but truly keep what you like. Keep what you like and enjoy it.
Sean, thank you so much for joining us on our first episode here of Donley Auction Hour. Thank you so much. Sean Thompson and the Sean Thompson Show every weekday from 4 to 7 p.m. Check him out.
And Sean, please continue doing what you're doing. We love your show. It's absolute
right
best.
Here on AM 560, The Answer.
Well, thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
You're listening to the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. I'm Susan with Donley Auctions here with Randy Donley. We're with Donley Auctions in Union, Illinois. But first, I have to thank Sean Thompson for being our very first guest on our show. How awesome was that? Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, we love the Sean Thompson Show. We've been advertising on his show for quite some time. And that's how we have met most of you. So many listeners out there to us today are all thanks to Sean and the audience that we've built up from his show.
And you can hear Sean every day, every single day from 4 to 7 p.m. right here at AM 560, The Answer. So, Randy, I know we've learned a lot about you and your family and how you came into this business. You've been collecting since you were a child.
Well, I really have. And before we go any further with that, I don't want to just keep talking about the Donley family and how we've been collectors. How about telling the audience a little bit about you, Susan, how you fit into the whole Donley auction operation here?
Well, that's a good question. I do not collect. I do not collect any antiques. I don't have much of anything at all. My expertise that I bring to this business is an operation manager. Give me a business, I can run it. So really, folks, I'm the real boss here. And just want to let you know how this all came about. I was working for Randy as a banquet manager. I was running about 80 weddings a year, large events. I came from a top 4 accounting firm, running events there. So my expertise is in handling details, lots and lots of details. So I was working for Randy as a banquet manager, and honestly, he was micromanaging me, and I needed to send him off to do something else, his passion.
Oh, boy. Okay, here we go.
The real truth comes out. So I sent him to auctioneer school, which I knew he loved and had a passion for, and he was doing what he does best. And really, everything just came together after that. We had our first auction in, was it 2014?
Well, yeah, let me back up there, though, and say this. Susan worked with us at the Wild West Town, and Susan and I have been together, about 15 years. But you were working in our banquet hall, which was part of the whole Wild West Town operation.
Yes.
So, and my brother Mike and I, who will be a guest on our show in future upcoming shows, my brother Mike and I were actually running auctions for years. And we loved the auction business, but we would go into Chicago and run auctions like building auctions and everything. Medina Temple, for example, that was an auction that Mike and I put together. But Susan, you got us involved in full-time auctions.
Full-time auctions, and we were actually running weddings and auctions in the same weekend. So imagine that. We finally made the decision to run out the weddings, and start the company full time. And we've never looked back. Our very first auction, I think we did about, $12,000 in sales?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Exactly. Our first auction was $12,600. And then the very next auction, just to tell you, again, Susan's business plan, we're not going to make any money at $12,000. Our next auction was
$888,000. We did the Grateful Dead memorabilia auction, and nothing has ever been the same.
Right. So, we had to jump into auctions in a much bigger way, in big-time auctions, and that's what we do now. And there's no reason that we won't take a smaller auction. For example, right now, we've got some online auctions going on coming up in January here.
In January. We're just going to do some smaller collections, online only. For example, the bobbleheads. We have some bobbleheads, and they're actually very interesting. There's quite a collection of them coming up January 7th, because why? It's National Bobblehead Day.
But, surprisingly, in every field, there can be some real surprises. Again, the gentleman that owns the bobbleheads, he has, in the past, sold bobbleheads $3,000 to $5,000 for a single bobblehead. So, again, here when we joke about, a less expensive or inexpensive items, sometimes you have to know.
You just never know.
Yeah.
You never know with us.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit more about, what's hot and what's not and what's going on.
Well, the other thing we have, too, I want to talk about real quick is our Beatles memorabilia auction that we have coming up on January 14th. So we have that coming up as well. We'll talk more about that in future episodes. But right now, we just want to give you guys an idea of the type of things that we do sell. And Donley Auctions is here to help you appraise what you have, so we can give you that advice. What am I supposed to do with the stuff? I have to be out of the house in a couple months. What are my next steps? Donley Auctions is here to tell you what to do. And again, we're going to figure out how to make all of that stuff fit into your wallet.
That's DonleyAuctions.com. Don't go to the website or visit Donley Auctions at Outlook.com.
Leave us an email if you have any questions for our upcoming shows. You can even call us and leave us a message at 815-923-7000. I'm Susan, and this is
Randy Donley
with Donley Auctions.
And now, more of the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back. I'm Susan, and I'm here with Randy Donley. We're with Donley Auctions in Union, Illinois, talking about how we can make your collections fit into your wallet. We're going to start this radio show every Saturday at 1 o'clock. Hope you tune in to learn more about what we can offer you in our services here at Donley Auctions. But right now, we're going to tell you about some auctions we have coming up live in person that might be of interest to some of our listeners out there.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because sometimes today people think that all auctions are online only, and that's just not the case. We do run a live auction as well as online simultaneously, and you can even watch our live auctions online through your own computer at home. But we've got some great auctions coming up. Sean, our wonderful first guest, touched on guns and ammo. Guns and military relics is one thing that Donley Auctions is really, really known for. We specialize in this type of collecting since, again, as you heard earlier, it's one of the things that I personally collected ever since I was 11 years old. But guns and military is coming up in February. So if you do have a single item or an entire collection of items that you want to sell, you simply need to call us. Susan will give you that information again. Call us or contact us online.
I also want to mention, Randy, we have an expert gun specialist on site with Donley Auctions who would be happy to talk to you in person or over the phone about any firearms you have in your possession and what you need to do with them next. not everybody wants to just throw some firearms in the car and drive out. We can even talk to you about scheduling an appointment to come pick them up for you. We carry our own FFL, and we'll make sure everything is safe and legal.
And to that point, FFL being a federal firearms license, everybody doesn't know that. And we always want to comply with every letter of the law. So very often we should be the ones coming out to pick up these items because we want to make sure that everything is done 100% legal and in accordance with the law. And we also, we don't just have gun experts on staff. We have many, many people that we hire to be able to really go through and itemize and describe and everything, your entire collections. And
I would think the Donley family is the perfect example of people who can help describe and appraise all your phonographs because you've been collecting them for 50-plus years. So antique music is one of your specialties.
Well, exactly. There's so many items because of my father being such a well-rounded collector, there's so many items that both my brother Mike and I do have expertise in. So in most cases, when you come to DonleyAuctions.com, you're going to be working with a family member. Now, a few other upcoming auctions. We mentioned guns and ammo and military relics in February, but antique phonographs, music boxes, radios in March, and one of our red letter auctions, one of our big-time auctions is always our April auction, which is coin-op and Petroliana, cars and motorcycles. It's probably one of our favorite auctions.
It's one of our favorites, one of our biggest ones. It's a 3-day auction in April. It's our spring classic. We do another one in November. So keep that in mind as you're going through things, or you know anyone who has anything in those categories. We'll be happy to talk to you about it to see if it's a good fit for our April auction. Now's the time. And coming up in our next segment, we're going to talk about how you actually consign items with us and what the next steps are.
Getting back to some of the upcoming auctions, though, we're out there right now actively looking for political memorabilia. And boy, you don't want to say that to Sean Thompson.
I know. He'll probably get all kinds of collections.
Political collecting, political buttons, banners, flags, all kinds of political. We do have a large political collection that we're now adding to for one of our upcoming auctions. And Susan, we just consigned that wonderful aviation collection.
Oh, yes. Definitely talk about that one.
When we talk about history in people's homes, sometimes we're just amazed at what shows up, especially in the Chicago area. People think, just because I own it, it can't be rare and it can't be good. Who knows what you've got in your attics and basements? We just came up with an aviation collection, and it turns out that this family had relatives who were actually polar aviators back in the time period of 1914 to 1930, and they have all of the charts and graphs and everything from these explorers and aviators. And this collection is so rare that the names of these people are Parker and William Kramer, who are historically significant aviators, and they even have the licenses we'll be selling off, aviation license number 4 and 11.
Wow, Randy, do you have a date set for that one yet?
No, we don't. We're still adding more aviation to that, even though that's the highlight of the collection.
Wonderful.
But just to tell you how rare license number 4 must be.
We'll have that coming up in another episode.
Okay.
Because right now I want to make sure all of you know out there, give us a call at 815-923-7000. Leave us a message. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer any questions and let you know what you have. This is Donley Auctions. I'm Susan. This is Randy. You can also email us at donleyauctions@outlook.com and check us out at our website, donleyauctions.com. Coming up next, we'll be talking about how you can consign your items to auction and how simple we're going to make it for you.
The Donley Auctions Hour continues now on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. I'm Susan. I'm here with Randy Donley. We're with Donley Auctions in Union, Illinois. Randy, I want you to wrap up that little comment you made about that amazing aviation collection we have coming up.
Well, I just wanted to point out, again, how rare things can be in people's homes. You know, Parker and William Kramer had licenses number 4 and 11, aviation license. And to tell you how rare that is, Orville Wright himself, his license was number 3.
Wow.
Parker Kramer is number 4. I mean, this is some historic stuff.
That's right, and we have a lot of that. Every day something new comes in. We just enjoy the history behind a lot of our collections. So keep an eye on our website at Donley Auctions, with an S, DonleyAuctions.com. You'll see all the auctions we have coming up in the future, like we mentioned, the firearms and ammunition, some the April Spring Classic, the phonographs and radios. Check our website, DonleyAuctions.com. If you have any questions, call us at 815-923-7000. We're here to help you downsize, minimalize the things you have. We'll appraise them for you. Randy Donley's an expert.
And Susan, one thing I want to remind everybody now, that this show is going to evolve and continue. Mm-hmm. We want this show to be what you want as far as information. So you need to get a hold of us and tell us the type of things you'd like us to be talking about and what you'd like to hear, the type of antiques that you might have that you need information on. For example, I just wanted to point out, 2023 is going to be the 60th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination.
Yes.
And we are going to be holding an extremely good Kennedy auction. So if you have Kennedy memorabilia that you'd like to get into this auction, again, contact us because...
Right. All you need to do is remember our email address. A lot of people like to email instead of calling. Donley Auctions at Outlook.com. Donley Auctions with an S at Outlook.com. We'll be happy to answer any questions for you. And I would love to hear what you have in your house. Let us know. We'll be happy to steer you in the right direction. Donley Auctions. Randy, one thing I'd like to mention is the honesty that our company is proud of, the integrity. Please tell everybody how we treat their items.
Susan, when I went to auctioneer school, one of the very first things I wrote down on my pad of paper is, and I'll never forget the instructor pointing this out and saying, without it, your company will fail. And he said the word integrity. I wrote that across my legal pad. I still have it to this day, and I never forget it. It's so important. Honesty and integrity, or this company will fail.
That's right. Keep that in mind. If you want to talk to some honest people about your precious items, we're the ones to call. Donley Auctions, 815-923-7000. This is Susan and Donley with the Donley Auction Hour. Thanks for joining us on our first radio show. We hope to hear from you. We'll be back every Saturday at 1 o'clock. Every Saturday at 1 o'clock.
And remember, one of our taglines is, make it fit in your wallet.
So next week, coming up, stay tuned. We're going to be talking about how to get top dollar for your collection. Well, what does that mean? How do you consign with us? What am I supposed to do? What are my next steps? Randy Donley and I are going to explain all of that to you in our next show. Hope you tune in. Check us out, DonleyAuctions.com. Thanks for joining us. And I'm Susan.
And I'm Randy Donley. And we'll see you at the auction.
Thanks for listening to the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560, The Answer. Check out all the latest information on upcoming auctions and collectibles at DonleyAuctions.com. And while you're there, you can contact someone about buying or selling your collectibles or estates. That's DonleyAuctions.com.